Well, hello everyone. My name is Ivana and I will be your host in today's Motivate Shanghai show. So this is episode 10 and we have a very special guest here today. So it is Tilman Rieger and he will be holding a workshop about compassionate communication. So I will first say a little bit about him and then he will take over and talk a little bit more about the workshop, what compassionate communication actually means. Um, and I hope you will learn a little bit new something today. So I met Tilman last year, um, and this is because he is the president of Coaches Circle here in Shanghai. This is a community of around 500 coaches. Wow. Um, and he shared with me that actually it started in the basement in someone's room or something like this. Maybe he will share more, but it grew rapidly, and now it's like community coaches for coaches. So I was happy to meet him there. So he took his role of the president last year from Excel, who has also been holding workshop here with our community. Um, so a little bit about Tilman from what I know, because there are so many things about him, and I will just share a couple of things that I find interesting. So one thing is that he had been working, he was having a corporate job for 15 years, and he was HR director of General Motors Europe when he left. So I feel like it was a huge step for him. And then he started to more focus on developing and coaching people. And he had, I think he said, like 600 hours experience with coaching before he came to China and continued here to coach and share his expertise. And lately, he has been like fast forward because he came 2014 here. So almost 5 years ago, yeah, 5 years ago now. Um, and he is very interested in helping people better their communication skills. So this is why we are now having his workshop about compassionate communication, which is actually equivalent to expression nonviolent communication. So something I think very relevant here today, because we all want to find better ways to communicate, especially, for example, if we have someone, and I'm sure because every time, you know, we do have someone who triggers us, who is maybe our villain, as I like to call it, or person that we don't really like, right? And we need to find some good way to communicate with each other, especially if this is a person we see every day at work or at home, right? So please, Tilman, say if I miss something, if you want to explain a little bit more about yourself and about your workshop, of course. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ivana, for the introduction. Let me just briefly put it right at one part that that was not quite as you said. I wished I would have had 600 hours of coaching experience when I came to China. In fact, I invested 600 hours of classroom training into myself before I came to China. That included the coaching training, and it included a nonviolent communication training and a business mediation training. So before I came to China, I gave myself one entire year after I left the corporate world to really invest into myself and prepare myself for that endeavor to move completely to China. That's maybe because I'm a German, and Germans like to plan everything in advance and don't just do things and go into action right away. So this is why I took myself that 1 year. And now, since 2014, I have to say, you're frozen now. I hope that the recording is still working. So okay, now I can see. Good. Okay, so in 2014, I came here without any job, but with that dream to work in China as a coach, and then found a job where I could apply that, where I could work as a coach and also as an intercultural consultant, helping expatriates to integrate into China, helping Chinese to better understand the Westerners and their awkward behavior, to help to make peace between Westerners and Chinese in everyday life and in the Western, in the multinational companies where they work together. And during these 4 years, I have also further worked a lot in the area of nonviolent communication, which I now call compassionate communication, because I think it's much more positive word, and it's the equivalent to nonviolent communication. And I have held already several workshops on that, also for Motivate Shanghai, and I'm going to have one now on the 26th of February of this year. For Motivate Shanghai again. So this is a 1.5-hour workshop where we will have interaction and have the opportunity for everyone to participate in an interactive way. And this workshop has shown to be very successful. Last year we had almost 30 people coming, which was really a lot for the average Motivate Shanghai events.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to say something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want to say something?
Now, I think we have a delay in the transmission of the voice. So,
okay.
Yeah, I just want to stop here so that you can ask another question if you like.
Yes, so it seems that you are a reoccurring guest, let's say, here in Motivate Community for a reason. And this topic, compassion, seeing things in a new way, I feel this is today like hot topic, and even though some will still say like compassion, what is this? It is about love, so how would you explain like what for you means compassionate communication?
Okay. Well, compassionate communication is really about how can you connect with other people and how can you stay connected in moments when it's hard to stay connected, or can you reconnect with yourself so that you can reconnect with the other person. And with connection, it's really about empathy. It's all about empathy, how to empathize with yourself so that you feel more connected again with your feelings and your needs, which then enables you to be more peaceful with the other side as well. So then once you feel more connected with yourself, you're able to connect more with the other person, to empathize with the other person. And because you have, in case you have done that pre-work of empathizing with yourself, you are then also able to better self-express yourself. So compassionate communication has 3 main pillars. The first is empathy with yourself. The second is empathy with the other one. And the third one is the self-expression, which is normally ending with a request for a change in the other person's behavior or your own behavior. And what is important with the request is that the request is something on a voluntary basis. So it's voluntary because we all human beings have a very strong need for autonomy. And if the need for autonomy is not met, people go into resistance, go into defensiveness, and they will not be willing to give from their heart. To give you an example, if you, as a woman, you like flowers, probably, and if you want to have flowers from your boyfriend, and he never brings you flowers. So if he never brings you flowers, and you would like to have flowers, you can say, I would like to bring me flowers every Monday of the week. And if you don't give me flowers, I will not speak with you for a week. So this could be one way to get the flowers, but maybe not a very successful way, because maybe your boyfriend will only bring you flowers once, and afterwards he will be so angry about that punishment threat that he if he does it only because he's afraid that you will punish him. But if you tell him about your need for beauty and for that whenever he brings you flowers, you feel so connected to him, and that you can really receive his love and his compassion to you, then and that you would love to have flowers, but you leave it to him whenever he brings you flowers, then this is something where you give him the freedom. And then whenever he brings you flowers, first of all, it comes from his heart. And second of all, he enjoys giving you flowers. He will be happy to see you being happy. Yeah? And that is very important to see how we enjoy giving much more when we have freedom and we can choose to do something. Now, sometimes we want someone to do something specific, and we want to find a way to make him do it. Or we are angry because someone did something we didn't appreciate, and we want him to stop this, or want them to somehow change the behavior. Then this is important to express this in the right way, so that the other person is not going into defensiveness. And very often, one of our problems is that we start right away with what we want without actually taking into consideration what the other side wants. And only then, when we empathize with the other side first, the other person feels more open and willing to also give back. Because there's one very important part in our communication, apart from autonomy, it's connection. When we feel connected, when we like each other, then we are actually naturally motivated to give each other. And that is something we will explore in the workshop. And also, what are the 4 steps of the compassionate communication process? So there's a 4-step model, and that can help everyone to go through in order to have something like a recipe for communication. It's a very simple recipe, and at the same time it's difficult, because in real life the situations are more challenging, and it's difficult to really apply it in the moment when you're angry, for example.
Right.
What does anger mean? Anger means that you are not connected with yourself. You have judgments about the other person, and then this means you're not connected with yourself, with your real feelings. And that's where you need to go into self-empathy and find out what is actually the feeling, what is the need that is unmet in this moment. Maybe it's the need for acknowledgement. Maybe it's the need for connection. Maybe it's the need for emotional safety. And then once you know that need, this pain that comes from this unmet need turns into a sweet pain. Because when you're connected to that need again, you feel more peace. And then you're able to see the other side's perspective. And when you express that, when you say, look, I know you have also a lot to do, and I can see that you're working very hard. Now, I would really need that one report from you, because otherwise I can't do my part. Is there a way that you could submit it to me in time next time? For example, in a situation where someone was not submitting the report next time. But if you tell the person you haven't submitted the report in time, and if this happens again next time, I will tell the boss. Something like that. This would be a violent communication example. And it happens very often because we are impatient, we want to be efficient, and this efficiency is also a need that we have. But when we know, oh, it's about efficiency, then we already feel more calm again.
Right. I feel like, when you were now saying so many great things, couple of things came to my mind. And the first one is, I often hear people say, you do not listen to me, but this is for me also an example of violent communication. For me, it's more like I'm afraid I will not be heard by you, something like this, rephrasing things so that people are more willing to communicate with you, because just as you said, like if I say to my husband, right, I will punish you if you do not do this, if you do not do what I like, if you do not bring me flowers, right, then our communication is very bad and relationship suffers and is disbalanced, with this kind of communication, right? So the same thing is at work, but I have like maybe one question, because when we are talking about being nice and being in great communication with each other, maybe the first question is, well, what about some person I really don't like? Should I be nice to everyone? So what is your take on this kind of question, let's say?
Well, first of all, it's important to know that compassionate communication does not necessarily mean to be nice to everyone. It is something that is often misunderstood, that compassionate communication necessarily has to be nice. There's also a lot of self-protection that you can use in these situations, or let's say it's the so-called protective force that you can sometimes use in order to protect yourself or to protect someone else. Now, this is still okay, but as long as the intention is just protection and not punishment. And with regards to your question, in terms of what do you do with people you don't like? Now, it's important to find out why you don't like them. Very often, when we don't like someone, it's because they have maybe something, or they do something that you don't permit yourself, or that you don't like so much about yourself either, and they do it even more, and that's why you don't like them. It can be that, for example, I can say for myself, if someone is somehow playing a role in a way that is not very authentic, if someone is not coming across very authentically, I don't like that. And I know it's because I have a strong need for authenticity. And once I discovered that, I was able to make more peace with people that have difficulties in showing who they really are, and putting on a mask, because now I know it's this authenticity. And this may be because I myself sometimes also put on a mask, maybe not as much as that person. So if I see it in the other person, I feel like, how ugly, or I don't like that at all. But it's the authenticity need that I have that is maybe not met necessarily completely by myself. And if someone else doesn't do it, it triggers me. Yeah. So it is important really always to find out the feelings you have, and the unmet needs are, you own them. And the world around you is just like it is. And whenever there's someone making you angry, it's important to acknowledge that the fact that you are feeling negative about it, and that you have an unmet need, has to do with you. And with your state of mind, with your resources you have in that moment, and with your history, how you grew up and all that. And that is not necessarily the other person's fault. Of course, everyone has responsibility for their behavior. But very often, someone has a certain behavior, and for some people it's a problem, for others it's not. Why? Because everyone's reaction is based on their way of their history, their life history, and their particular personality and their needs. And that is the point where it's important to acknowledge what is your part here. And that's where nonviolent communication or compassion communication helps to take responsibility for your own feelings. And that's a very difficult part in it, because there's a lot of resistance of people to acknowledge that the feelings are not due to the others or not produced by the others. We often say, you make me feel like, and that is already violent, because you say the other person is responsible for your feelings. No, we are all responsible for our feelings. But that also means that we need to acknowledge that the feelings of other people are not within our responsibility. And that is something that often people that please others or like to please others often do, that they take responsibility for the feelings of others.
Wow, I like how we circled back now, because it's about like being all the time nice to other people is actually like pleasing other people, right? And just thinking, how should I make them feel good? If I make them angry, then I'm at fault. It's my fault. I'm responsible. So I like how you describe this. And also, like when you were talking, I really resonated with what you said, how we are responsible for our own feelings. It comes from us, what we are feeling, and taking responsibility for this. Because over and over, I noticed in my own life and in life of my own clients, that these people that trigger us repeat. You may quit your job, go to another place, and again you find similar people, like similar things, let's say, triggering you. So you didn't really deal with that problem. It still stayed because it's your problem. It's not about this other person, right? Because I really feel passionate about this, and I like how you then connected this all together with compassionate communication, because as you said at the beginning, this means also communicating with yourself, knowing yourself first, and then other people, and then expressing yourself. So thank you for explaining this. So we have just a short interview here, but what would be your closing thought? Is there something else you would like to share with our viewers, with those who are thinking about going to this workshop?
Well, I would like to say that going to this workshop can be both beneficial for the private life and for the work life, because it's really about communication, that you for increasing your awareness about communication and how you communicate. It is, of course, also something I can recommend to read the book, Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg, in advance. It will help, but it's not a requirement. You can come just open without any pre-knowledge, and you will also benefit a lot from it. The more you know, the more you can benefit from it, of course. It's like learning a language, a new language. And if you learn that new language and you have studied the vocabulary already, you pick up more quickly when you're abroad in a new country. But if you come to a new country, you can also learn the new language right away there. So the more you're prepared, the higher your pickup rate is. But apart from that, I can only encourage everyone to come and to experience, as we will work with your own examples, with everyone's own examples.
Right, so those who have this opportunity to be in Shanghai, I highly encourage you to come to this workshop. And for those who maybe don't have that opportunity, the book that you just recommended, it's maybe a great start for you. Also, I feel like, our workshops, our experience, it's, as you said, with language, you may know the words, you may read, but when you start speaking, when you're in a new country and start experiencing this culture, and start talking with people there, is completely different than just maybe, reading a book or knowing words, right? So I feel like this is a great opportunity to really experience what compassionate communication means and how to incorporate this into our lives. So thank you for today for this great, so many useful information, I feel, and looking forward to the workshop. So
thank you.
so see you there. Yeah, bye for now.
Bye.